Back at it again, all the way from Harris, Minnesota. So there's a lot to unpack from this comment, and for context, it is from a red flag compilation video. And the particular part of the video that this person is responding to is a bride and groom at the wedding in its full effect. The bride says, "Don't shove the cake in my face." The groom proceeds to shove a cake in her face and like messes up all this here. And she leaves, and word on the street is she got an annulment. So some of you may be wondering, as I was, why did she break up with him at the wedding? This can't be a first-time offense and all of this. And I thought about that too, and I actually deleted the original video that I was making in response because I got it by the end of the video. I'm thinking that even though this is very likely not his first offense, maybe this is the first time that he's done something like that, where this is the first time where she has invested so much time and energy into something. Because like in these heterosexual couples, it like the responsibility of the wedding usually falls on the bride. Now I'm very much assuming their situation, but usually based on what we've seen on these TV shows and how weddings have been handled in different parts of our families, whether or not we're married, I'm not married, the weddings are dealt with by the bride. So like I'm thinking that she's the one who put all of her time and energy into the arrangement, or she took most of the brunt of the work and he just did a little bit. And for all of her time and energy, he goes and does that. Or maybe they shared the responsibility equally, but like, you know, she really cared about this particular moment because like people really do up their hair and makeup and they get this expensive dress and all this here. Just for him to shove cake in her face when she said not to. No matter how it went, I know that these weddings are fucking intense. And like, with the usual story being a lot of the wedding labor falling on the bride, for him to do that in front of her friends and family at this beautiful special event that most likely she's the one who did most to all of the planning for him to do that when she specifically said not to was the icing on the cake, pun intended. And there was no way I could fit all of that into TikTok's tiny little comment section limit. So for him to say harmless fun when we all have access to the knowledge to gain perspective on how these wedding planning things usually go, the expenses, the catering, the rehearsals. My God, the rehearsals. Like, dog, no. Let's talk about what this comment really is. It's the harmless disregard for all the time and energy that goes into a fucking wedding. And I know that the other side of that argument is it's his wedding too, but she said don't do something. So don't do it. Especially here. Like, and to address the other half of this comment, if he said don't do something, he should be respected as well. And now we're going to lean fully into the other half of the comment of role reversal, y'all would be calling him a pussy. First of all, each generation is smarter than the last. And I am guessing from this comment and a few more comments as people have replied to this person and he's replied back, that this person is from a few generations ago. If everything that this person has said is true, like with the internet being the landscape that it is where people can say anything that they want, there's no way that this person is a young adult. Each generation is smarter than the previous is not a commentary on how our brains have developed or how we've learned how to access more percentages of our brain or anything like that. It's a commentary on how, as technology advances, we have more access to information and knowledge, and we've gotten to a point where we can speak into these things that we still call phones that do so much more than the phones of old, that can translate to different languages that we can understand. Like, this thing that I'm recording on is better than the Library of Alexandria. And honestly, the documentation in the Library of Alexandria was mostly weapons. It wasn't anything that, like, helped people in general. This thing has given us access to other people's lives across the world in a way in which TV kind of did, but kind of didn't, because what we saw was still governed by, particular forces with special interests versus the internet just being the damn internet. Like, anybody can get on here as long as they have a phone. And I say phone, like you don't even need a computer or a laptop anymore, just a phone. With us having access to all of these things, including things about mental health, like what violence looks like, what domestic violence looks like, and all these things here, we have become more emotionally and mentally, like, we're getting up there. We're doing better. And we're becoming more understanding of people's situations. Back in the days of old where you could call embarrassing someone in front of their friends and family at a fucking expensive event harmless fun, nah. We don't have time for that. We got bills to pay, we got people to meet, we got planes to get on, we got worlds to travel. We don't have time for this. Back when the world was smaller and people's sense of emotional intelligence was very limited because we couldn't really cross into seeing other people's lives, like, yeah, maybe this was acceptable. But now that we see how multiple people live and we know that we don't have to be unhappy, we don't accept that anymore. And the same goes for men. The roles were reversed. You'd be calling them due to pussy. No. We don't have to emasculate people. As much as emasculating people is very much ingrained in American culture with words like pussy, bitch, etc., used to emasculate people. No, we can accept boundaries set by people regardless of gender and live our lives. And also, we need to get into emasculation. You can emasculate anybody because anybody has the potential to be masculine. Being masculine is not just sectioned off to men. Women also participate in toxic masculinity. Anybody of any gender can participate in toxic masculinity. But for what we're talking about right here, right now, you could argue that he emasculated her in front of her friends and family because she set a boundary, which apparently some people would dub as a masculine trait, and he violated her boundary, and she fucking left. I also find that very often masculinity and ego are used as interchangeable terms. Those aren't the same thing. They should not be used interchangeably. She didn't take a blow to her ego. She was humiliated and emasculated in front of her friends and family by her setting a boundary, him violently disrespecting her boundary, especially in a setting where she put in a lot of time and energy, and even if they shared the labor equally, they didn't share the labor equally of her makeup and clothes and hair that he messed up. So no harmless fun here in emasculating people. Now, do I expect this person to watch this video, watch the whole thing through especially? Fuck no. This is just me being like, nah, we need to talk about this shit because, like, the idea that emasculating people is only limited to men, that shit needs to go away. Especially in a society and culture that works so hard to take femininity away from black women. We live in a culture that insists that any successful black woman has to be a trans woman. Not to say that trans women are women. Trans women are women. Like, feminine and all that. Or however they want to express their femininity. That's them. They are individuals, not a monolith. It's just that any black woman that achieves success is then seen as a trans woman. That's an entirely different section of problems. But the point is that we work hard to take femininity away from successful women, usually black women. So, like, we do need to address the subculture of emasculating women. I think I've rambled long enough. I'm gonna let this video go because there's another comment that I gotta address by this same person. So, moving right along.